Oggi mi guardo. Devi togliere. This is our Wednesday night channeling number 193. This must be November 4th?
December 4th.
I mean December 4th, yes. 1991. Planet Earth.
Good evening.
Let's have a quiet time before we start. Let's close our eyes, relax the body, quiet the mind. Think of peace and allow yourself to be physically relaxed and mentally quiet. As we go within, let us think of the circle of light getting brighter and brighter, reaching upward into the higher dimensions, into the higher frequencies. As we reach upward, we feel those higher beings of light reaching down to us, and we welcome them with open arms. Let us feel the vibrations build as the attunement is made. Thank you, Father. Good evening, my dear ones. This is Gadon, your doorkeeper, coming to you from these realms of love and light. Someone said jokingly on this side, that sounds like a radio announcer when I come through at first. And in a sense it is, because we're coming on the frequency of love and the waves of light that brighten up your circle of light. There are many here tonight from this side of the veil. There are many who seek to know and to understand the truth. Our lesson tonight is going to be brought to you by Eloah, and I release to him now. It is with great joy, my beloved ones, that I come to you this evening in this circle of light and love, and the beauty of your countenance shines forth for all to see. And there are many here to see the beauty of your countenance. There are many here who long to be in your circle of light. And there are many here who wish that they had had the opportunity when they were in the physical. You are blessed among many on this earth. There are many small groups, I would remind you, around the world who are coming together as you are, and I would ask you again to send them love and to think of them in your quiet times, because you and they are one in a little different sense than you're one with all of life, because you are seeking the truth and you're making contact with these higher dimensions. It is the love of God that binds us together. It is God's love that is the substance of our being. Tonight's topic is called Learning to Believe. It is something that is very important. Some have their timing, and they know that their timing is right, and some of you in this room tonight realize that, and your timing is at the right time for you to open up to the understanding of the higher truth above and beyond the physical plane. Learning to believe is something that is a 24-hour occupation, you might say. When you go to sleep at night, you are manifesting on these dimensions and having classes, something like this, and other different kind of things that you're doing. And some of the time that your body is resting from you, the individual entity that you are, is learning and growing from these dimensions. And as you learn and then come to class and read the books and study and do your classes, this learning that you do on this side filters down into your conscious awareness. It is important that you, when you go to bed at night, that you release yourself to God and send God's love ahead of you into the night. This helps to pave the way and helps you to learn more. It is very important that you continue to send love all through the day to many, many things, and send a great abundance of it unlabeled. For it is God's love that is the substance of life itself. You, my dear ones, are the substance of life. And when you learn to believe in yourself much more, then you learn to believe in life much more. Learning to believe in yourself is learning to believe in God. For in true reality, my dear ones, you and the Father are one. Whether you believe it a little bit or you intellectually think about it, you are truly one with all life, and all life is God. The whole of life in all the universe is the creator of all that is. As you learn to stretch your belief through your inner image, using your imagination to read the books that you read and to study and to grow, then do you build your foundation. And the foundation that you build, you can stand upon, and with your belief system, you stand straight and tall, and your foundation holds you up above the physical illusions that you have to deal with every day. As you go through your day, you are much stronger as you move through this incarnation. Each day you have more of the understanding of the real truth of life. The belief in duality on your physical plane is the largest deterrent that holds you back, holds the masses back, I should say, from being able to rise above this physical plane in their understanding. When you learn to rise above the belief in duality, then you will change your way of thinking and your way of communicating. For your language is polluted with duality, and it is almost impossible to communicate with you in this way without using duality in the message. So if you think about this, and as you learn to understand yourself and the real truth of life, as you learn to comprehend that life is one, and you are one with all life, and it matters not what other individuals are doing or not, they are one with all life. Everything that you experience on the physical plane is life. It is life that you have created. God gave you the free will to create whatever you want. And in true reality, my dear ones, you even created the planet. The planet is an entity like you are. And you have molded and shaped this planet as it is today. The general form was there, just as your soul does not have a form, but it has an identification. Each entity has an eternal name. It could not be brought down into your language, but you do have an eternal name, and you have an eternal identity, but you are still one with the whole of life. You are a different expression of God, but you are God. When you can learn to hold your hands up, as in the movie of Shirley MacLaine, and say, I am God, and really believe it, really understand it, and accept it as true, then can you know yourself more. And as you build this belief into your consciousness, it becomes more of a reality to you. It becomes more of an understanding and builds itself as one of the building blocks in your foundation. I tell you, my dear ones, your foundation is so important that we continue to mention it, because you are learning to build this foundation through your belief system, through what you believe. Now, each entity on this plane has a different belief. They have an individual belief. There are as many beliefs on your plane as there are entities, because each of you are different expressions of life. Each of you have had different experiences in the past, and through these experiences you have built your belief system and have built up your consciousness through what you believe. And your next step then, when you experience it enough to realize your divinity, you know it to be true. Believing is one step. Faith is one step, but believing is a step beyond faith. When you first came to the center, you came on faith that maybe you might get something here that might help you to have a better life. But you have come back again and again, so you have gone beyond faith into some belief because you have gotten some evidence. Now, when you build this into your consciousness as a permanent reality in your consciousness, then that is called knowing, and knowing is closely related to your word wisdom. Then you have the wisdom of understanding who you truly are. I tell you, when you learn to love as God is love, then do you know life, then do you know yourself, then do you know God, then do you understand all that is. For love contains all, my dear ones. God's love contains all that there is. And as you send God's love through you as a channel, God's love is helping you first, because it goes through you. And as it goes through you, it automatically helps you in whatever way that you need it. Remember also to send God's love to yourself, for you are working, as the saying goes, to build your foundation and your building blocks of your spiritual structure that you live in. You live in your consciousness. And as you build the understanding in your consciousness stronger and stronger with the power of believing in love, divine love, and this includes many attributes as Paul gave in the New Testament, and that is in your book that Donald has recommended for your self-awareness class. There are many other attributes of divine love. For life and love are one. You and love are one. You and life are one. I am repeating these things to help to get this into your understanding, into your consciousness, so that you might believe it for yourself. There are many who can believe it for someone else, and there are some of the students who come, as Donald calls them, that believe that he can believe, but they're not sure about their belief. I tell you, my dear ones, you are all equal in the eyes of God. You are equally loved, no matter what you have done, no matter what your past has been. And that includes everyone on this planet, everyone in the whole universe, no matter what has transpired in your experiences. God loves you equally. He sees and knows because he lives through you. The life force that you are is God. So he experiences life with you as you experience it. But he sees you as whole, complete, and perfect, as he created you. And this is the only way that he sees you. He does not judge you in any way or condemn you. And you must erase this from your belief system that has been conditioned from your past. This is one of the greatest travesties that has been placed upon mankind in your religions, to fear God. This is sacrilegious, if anything is sacrilegious, because God is love, and he loves you without any conditions. Learn to love God by learning to love yourself and loving life wherever you see it, in every individual that you come across, no matter what experiences they are having. This is a repetitious class, but it is very important that we get the point across to help you to believe in life. When you believe in life, then that includes God, it includes yourself, all others, and all expressions of life. You are one with all of this, my dear ones. You are the family of life. the whole family. No one is left out of the circle of life, no matter what experiences they have had. In your book you call the Bible, one of the bad guys, you might say, was Judas. God loves Judas or any other so-called character as much as he loves you or anyone else or the greatest saint that you might think of. I tell you, when you judge from the physical plane, you are seeing so very little of the real truth. You're seeing life in a very small way. As you learn to raise your consciousness, you see life in a much larger way, and you understand that life is a completeness and wholeness of all that is and all that exists. Each one of you are a different expression of life, and you have a niche to fill that no one else can fill. Remember this, my dear ones, there is no competition. There is no competition. You are an individual expression that has your place in the scheme of life that no one else can fill. This can help you to believe in yourself by eliminating the fear of lack. When your news broadcast the recession and depression, as you call it, they are broadcasting negativity, and they are putting out the belief system in lack. When you hear this many times, it gets into your subconscious, and you unconsciously begin to believe it. And as you unconsciously begin to believe it, you, without thought, conscious thought, act on it. This is the importance of your self-awareness class, and learning to be aware of what you believe in, what you think about, what you believe yourself capable of. I tell you, my dear ones, you're capable of all. All means everything, because you are God's. You do not realize it at this point of consciousness where you are, or you would be expressing it. You would be manifesting it, as the Master did when he was in the physical. You are God's in the making, you might say. You are already God's, but in the making means that you are coming to believe in yourself as divine, as eternal. And in this belief, you realize who you are. And as your realization becomes more solidified in your foundation, then you begin to manifest that which you realize. As your master teacher, when he was in the physical, demonstrated these things, he did not do it to be entertaining or to help you to see a sideshow, you might say. He did it as an example. And whatever he told his disciples, he meant for all of mankind. And he said to his disciples, "Ye shall do the things that I do, and even greater." And he was talking about you, my dear ones. You who are in the physical and you who are sitting here in the balcony, not in the physical body. You are all capable of all things. And as you begin to realize this more and more, you can then become the gods that you are. You are in the process of becoming. You already are the whole, the complete, but you have allowed yourself to forget your wholeness, your divinity, as you have dropped down to these lower dimensions. As we lift our consciousness higher and higher, as we understand the real truth of life, then we begin to believe in ourselves. And as you learn to believe in yourself, then you know who you are. You open the doors to the other dimensions, to the dimensions of love and light. And this filters down into your conscious everyday life. This is an understanding that you, as you go through your day, your day-to-day living, must remember, must learn to remember who you are as you do your physical things. Remember that you are capable of much, much more than you are doing or that you think you are capable of. You are capable, my dear ones, of all, of anything that you can imagine. You are capable of it. If your entity that you are can bring the images into your minds of something, then you have already done this in the past. Know this, my dear ones, for you have come out of the Godhead many times where you were completely one with God, even in thought, and you have come down to these lower dimensions to learn and to grow and to test yourself against the vibrations of duality. Your physical plane was set up purposely as it is for you to have something to push against. Do not rile against the seeming adversity of this plane. As the master teacher said, resist not evil, and everything that goes against the grain of life or seems to cause you trouble and problems, as you call them, or opportunities, could be termed as evil. Everything that goes against the grain of life gives you an opportunity to recognize it and see it as it truly is, and to be grateful for it, even if it's happening to you. This is not easy when you are in the middle of adversity, and you may forget who you are because your attention is fastened on the outward experience that seems to be bad, bad, bad. But I tell you, my dear ones, there is no death. And when you truly believe this and build it into your belief system, then who can harm you? If God is for you, who can be against you? And God is for you, for he loves you with a love so great you could not begin to comprehend it. This has been a basic class tonight, you might say, but it is important that you remember to learn who you are and remember to build these truths into your consciousness so that you can use them in your growth, in your understanding. Understanding is an important word because it is involved with your foundation. Your foundation is under what you stand upon. And in a physical sense, you can understand that. But in a spiritual sense, your understanding is the truth, the belief that you have in life, that you stand upon, and it holds you up in these seeming adversities that come along to trip you in your thinking. There is much to learn, much more than you can see at this time. There is much to understand. And I tell you again, love is a key to all things. When you understand and begin to love as God loves, when you begin to love unconditionally, then do you understand so much more. And it matters not what the situation around you is. It matters not what another is doing. If you can love them unconditionally, then you are growing. You are moving into that higher consciousness that gives you the freedom from the belief in duality. Shall we stop at this time and allow you to express your opinions and your beliefs and ask questions if you so desire?
I have a kind of a question statement. I've been thinking a lot about living in the now and in the present moment, how, so much of what Don's been saying and what you said in the channeling. And I was reading a book, and it said in there that the only way that you can live in the now is to not think about anything, because if you ever think, you're either thinking about a past experience or a future experience, and all you can do is just experience every moment. But once you start thinking about it, then the mind is in control again. Am I misunderstanding that, or is that?
You can think about the present. You can think about what is being said this moment. And you are not able to speak unless you do think about what you're going to say this moment. But the moment that you say it, it moves into the past, yes. And this is expressing the belief in time and space. It's another expression of duality. See, the past and the future do not exist. There's only the now. And whatever you are experiencing it in the now. And I can understand what your writer is expressing when he says, after the words have left your mouth, then they are in the past, so to speak. But the theme, or whatever you are speaking of, is still in the present unless you change the subject. And so do not get too hung up on analyzing things. This is a trap that can lead you into the duality thinking. The past and future are involved with time and space, the duality. Believe in yourself this moment and what you are doing this moment, and be grateful for it. Try not to analyze anything. Learn to either accept something or not accept it. And if you accept it, then you begin to believe in it. If you do not accept it, then you are not ready for it. If it is the truth, then you have not grown to that point of consciousness where you are ready to comprehend it in your belief system and in your consciousness. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. This is a good point. Are there other questions this evening? If you have some comments to make about believing, about duality, about what is duality and what is it not, feel free to open your hearts and your minds. There are no silly questions. If it is a question to you, if it is something that you need more enlightenment on, feel free to open your mind and ask so that you might know the truth. How many of you are distracted by the extra noise? If it bothers you, think about the joy that is being expressed. Think about the child that lives in the moment and lives for the moment only. And the master teacher said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and unless you become like them, you cannot enter the kingdom." Realize this, my dear ones. Realize that as your body grows, as your experiences increase, you move in to the concepts of duality, and you begin to be conditioned and brainwashed into believing in erroneous things. The child has not yet come to that place, and it is just being itself completely. When you sit in this circle of light and you may have a question or you would like to comment on something and hold it back, is it not because you are not being as free as that child is? You are afraid of maybe criticism or what someone else might think of you or what you might think of yourself. Feel free to join in and be a part of the words that are spoken. Be a part of the discussion that is going on.
In relationship to that, Steve and I have been talking about Chelsea and about where we should, discipline her, draw a line, and we've been teaching her to be quiet when she's not supposed to be talking and stuff. But now we're starting to wonder if we should stifle her at all, or so. How do you know what to do? There's a certain part of us that want her to be, I guess, normal in society, but then on the other hand, we want to give her a really good chance of being herself all her life.
Discipline is very important to every child, but always remember to discipline in love. And when I say love, it's a capital L, as Donald says, with divine love. Discipline through example and through love, by transferring your thoughts and your feelings to this child and allowing her to accept them and then say the words. As she grows into speaking words and understanding the language, she is moving in to the concepts of duality and the conditioning that the world puts upon each individual that comes in, that incarnates, unless they are far advanced in their soul's growth. So as you do this, do it with love. Explain over and over if you need to, but always with a smile and with love in your heart. And eventually it will come through, and the entity will be much freer than the average child that is yelled at much of the time. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, it does, and it brings up another subject. How can we discipline ourselves with divine love then? Because we should be using that principle on things that we want to make adjustments in our own life.
Yes, and it is eliminating the guilt and the self-condemnation. You mark your mistakes, so-called. You mark the things that you do or think that goes against the grain of life. And you teach your subconscious, and it is like teaching the child the same way. You teach it in love, and you help it to work with you and be a friend instead of an enemy. For most on this plane, the subconscious and conscious mind are enemies, and they work against each other. So it is the same way that you work with the child. The child within you, you call the subconscious, or the little self. And that little self has to grow as you do consciously. And when you can grow together in harmony with each other, and if you have to stop 100 times a day and sit down and be quiet and speak to your child within in love, then do it. For there's nothing more important than your soul's growth. And without the harmony between these two levels of your being, there can be no soul's growth, or very little. Your experience in the physical automatically helps you to grow. But when you come back time and time again, making the same so-called mistakes and going through the same experiences without the understanding, without the building blocks in your foundation, then you are just marking time, as you call it, or spinning your wheels. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment
Yes.
about the little girl. It's refreshing to have her here because we get so wound up in our own frustrations, and she's the epitome of what we should be.
Yes. We become too serious sometimes in our living. And this is true in your soul's growth. Do not take yourself too seriously. Allow yourself to grow with freedom. Allow yourself to make the so-called mistakes and mark your mistakes and say to your little self, well, there we go again. Let's try to remember the next time before we do it, and be kind and gentle and loving. You will get the attention, and you will get the right attention much quicker than yelling and being emotionally disturbed. Because you see, as you yell at a child with anger and frustration, all the child gets is the negative emotions that are directed towards it. It does not get the understanding of what you want it to do. And so it becomes afraid and fearful, and sometimes the children turn within themselves and become introverted, as you call it, and will not express themselves and have to overcome this in later life. These are good questions, and they are good to realize that you must build this into your foundation, into your understanding. You may think they're simple, and you may have wanted to hear profound things tonight, but I tell you, these things are profound because they are the building blocks that build the structure of your soul. And without that foundation, your spiritual house will not stand. And the Master gave this example: if you build your house on sand, it will fall apart. But if you build it on solid rock, it will stand. And this is what he meant about building your foundation on understanding the truth of life, understanding yourself. And this includes your subconscious or your little self.
Eloa,
Yeah.
I don't understand what you meant when you said transfer your thoughts and your love when you're talking about discipline.
To the child or to the subconscious. Is this what you mean?
To the child, yeah.
Yes. To children, especially the mother, but sometimes both the parents, there's a psychic umbilical cord that is attached until the child leaves home, and that cord should then be broken. But in between that time, there is that communication like a telephone wire, and the child picks up the parent's thoughts and feelings, and in this way they grow and understand, because when you can send love through this umbilical cord that is attached, the child feels it, and it feels secure. But when you send anger and frustration and negative vibrations, then the child is insecure, and it learns fear. And it is the fear that is the only problem that you have on this planet. And this is what you want to avoid when you are working with your child or with yourself and the child within you. Does this help your understanding?
Yeah.
Somewhat, huh? Yes.
Spoke of how we search for an enlightening type of answer, and that kind of, it brings me to a question that I have about also something that Mary and I were talking about in reference to how when I first started getting involved in reading about metaphysics and many of the messages, I noticed how I could do what we're talking about, sending love to people and situations that I hadn't in the past, and feeling really powerful about it, enlightened about it, and just knowing wholeheartedly, without a doubt, that everyone was in the right place and everything was in divine order, and I just, didn't have to worry about anybody else anymore. I didn't have to worry about anything about myself. And the thing that I don't understand is how you can grasp and, hold and feel that kind of feeling, and then lose it, and then still know that it's there, but it seems like such a chore to get back when the first time it was so natural.
Yes. It is like when you were in school and you learned to add and subtract. You didn't learn it overnight unless you were in the genius class, and even then you did not learn it overnight. You had to practice, and one lifetime is like a blink of an eye in the sense of eternity, and it seems like a long time to you because your thoughts and everything is in very slow motion relative to the realms that we come from. But it is not long at all. Be patient with yourself. This is a part of divine love. This is a great attribute of divine love, is learning to be patient with the child within you. It is the child that comes up and brings back the old patterns that it wants to keep and to hang on to. When you have success with yourself and have a few good days, and then the child comes through when your guard is down maybe, and brings in the old patterns, then you become frustrated with yourself and impatient, shall we say. And this is what happens. Pay no attention to the failures. Give them no power of thought. Recognize them, yes, but give your thought to the truth and to the answers. This is the trap, in a sense, that so many do, is to feel guilty because they're not perfect already. And they trip up with the old patterns, and then they become emotionally disturbed in a negative way, and this builds into more, and so it gets out of hand. When, if you can remember that it is just the old patterns, and that they are still there, and what they need is love, divine love. So immediately send God's love into yourself and into these patterns and into the negative thoughts to cancel them out, and go about your way in a happy and joyful way. This is not an easy task, especially when you allow yourself to move into this frustration and impatience for a little while, and you really get into going with the negative emotions. But if you learn to catch it right at the beginning, then it's much easier. And it is a matter of remembering who you are. Does this help your understanding?
Yeah, it does, but it still doesn't quite answer the question of, well, it brings up another question. If, I understand the concept of, like, when my guard is down, that my child's self, habits will try and come in and louse things up again. But the intensity when you're in that type of enlightenment that I'm talking about, how does the child allow that to even happen in the first place if it doesn't want it?
Rather, let's see, how do you allow it to happen? And it is through repetition of the patterns. You see, the strength of the patterns is they gain momentum through repetition over long periods of time, and shall we say lifetimes. So realize this, and do not allow yourself to be frustrated or impatient because it happens. So it happens. This is a part of your learning experience. It is a part of your growth experience, is learning to not give the power of negative thought to your so-called mistakes. Donald's thought is of the tape. Is someone checking it?
There's still a couple more rats there.
Uh-huh. Does this help your understanding?
Yes. Thank you. Cool.
I tell you, my dear ones, when you have come to the place where you are on this plane, and you might say it is the pits, in the sense of life, but really it is not. It is the greatest opportunity for you to have something to push against. You see, to build your spiritual muscles. When you are on these planes of love and light in between incarnations, the opportunities are not there so much. You do learn in between incarnations, but your opportunity for growth is so much greater on this stage called the earth plane, and the props are set there to trip you up and give you the thought of duality and the belief in duality, so that you will have the opportunity to bring forth the God Self and the light of understanding into your conscious awareness, and allow this to be your reality, even while you are in the pits or the physical plane, however you want to explain it, express it. I feel that it is a very valuable thing to be here for your growth, and many, many are waiting for the opportunity to incarnate on this planet from planets that are much higher than this. And many, when Donald has expressed this, have said, why would they want to come to some place like this? And the reason is for greater opportunities to develop their spiritual muscles. When you are in a place or a planet or a dimension where everything is rosy and everything goes along easy, then there are many, many dimensions above you, but you do not have the opportunities to stretch your consciousness to the frequency of those dimensions above you. And when you get a glimpse of them at times, you want to. It is like there's always something better, and you want the better. And so you are told that to get there a little quicker, with more understanding, incarnate into something like this. And there are many dimensions like this. There are many planets similar to this that you can incarnate and learn in a little different way. Are there other questions this evening?
I have some questions about love.
Yes.
I know that in our language we use the word love in many different contexts. But you were talking about Paul's writing about love, about the attribute of love.
Yes.
How do you learn how to love?
Through practice. Through practice of patience, for example, is one of the attributes of love. And through your growth, your soul's growth, you do have to learn to be patient with your child within and to love it into growing instead of straining at it. And this is what the Master meant when he said, resist not. And we can stop it just right there. Resist not anything, but flow with the current of life that is made of love. And through loving, you can learn what love is instead of straining at it and trying too hard, being too serious about it. You can relax and flow with the current. And my dear, your laughter is very good for you. Easier for you to love divinely instead of, what is the expression, chest cat smile, something like this. Anyway, a fake smile and grinning and bearing it. This is not the way to do. Understand. Through the understanding, and that's why we come together on these nights and talk together about these things. And through the understanding, the true understanding, then you can relax and be at peace and let yourself be your divine self.
Is that what Mr. Weldon was referring to when he talks about turning our will over to God, seeing through God's eyes and hearing as God hears?
Yes. When in a class the other night that some of, and I don't believe any of you are in this class, one of the younger students said, release it to God. This is a good thing to do, but remember that God works through you, not for you. And after you have done all that you can do in the physical, after you have done what you can do with your understanding and on your mental realms and other dimensions, then release it to God. Do not strain at it. In other words, but you must do the footwork. God is not in physical form in his, he is in physical form through you. So you see, he works through you, and you have to do the physical thinking, you have to do the physical work to understand and use your mind to weigh this and weigh that and come to an agreement within yourself what you will believe. And then you release it to God. Then what release it to God means you turn loose of thinking about it and know that the higher self within you, as you think of it, is that part that's one with God, and it will filter this out and let it come down to your conscious awareness in time that you can understand. Does this help your understanding?
Well, I think when I was asking about, when Mr. Weldon talks about asking to be able to see as God sees, as Father sees, is he referring to letting go of duality, the concept of duality?
Yes, yes.
And I have another question about love. When you were talking on this level, a lot of times when we say love, we're talking about this warm emotional feeling. Through practicing those attributes that we were discussing, that Paul was writing about,
Mm-hmm.
developing those attributes, will that emotional feeling come?
There are many fine lines, my dear one, and this is one of them. In the lessons past, in the group that Donald was in, I talked much about the fine lines. And this warm feeling can be a signal to you that you are on the right path, or you're getting closer to the right kind of thinking. Or it can be a false thing. And this is where another attribute of love is discernment. Learning to discern the difference between the duality of this plane and the reality of God's love. So it is a fine line, but go with the inner feeling. Go with the understanding that you have. And you may step in the wrong direction sometimes, but you will know it. You will soon know it, and you can back up and try another direction. And it's no big thing. You may try many directions before you get the understanding that goes with the flow of life. Am I communicating?
Yes.
Bless you. There is much, much to learn and to understand, and each of you will learn in your own individual way. None of you will learn exactly the same way. None of you will have the same belief system, but you have God within you to direct you. And when, through love, you learn to make that contact with the inner Godhood of yourself and the Creator of all life, then do you have the direction and the hand that reaches out to lead you in the right direction. And you will know it. You will feel it. You will discern it. Are there other questions? This has been a beautiful class tonight, and even though at first you thought it was too basic, it still is a learning process. And as we said, the child within comes up and trips you over and over into believing in duality and being frustrated and impatient. We have to remind you of these same things until you get the picture within your inner image and are able to reach into the higher self of you and allow that guidance to be a permanent thing from the God self within you. And it is coming. You are growing, my dear ones. Believe this. Believe in yourself and know that each day brings you new opportunities, new trouble and problems, as you call them, but they are truly opportunities for your growth. Be grateful in even the greatest disaster that seems to come into your life, and say, thank you, Father, for this opportunity, and use love lavishly, and especially with yourself. God bless each one of you, and good evening.
Thank you. God bless you.
Oh, yeah, it did.
That's good.
Well, it looks like you had a good time tonight.
Did you have fun? Steve, I have an analogy of what you, and I could be wrong, but I think I have an analogy of what you might be feeling. And, are you taking balloon lessons right now
Oh,
to get your pilot's license?
yeah.
Okay, when you, it seems to me that you've reached a plateau. And you've been at the plateau for a long time. And from my experience, when you're on that plateau and you get eager for something else to happen in between you kind of lose. From my flying, I know that you think, well, there's got to be more, and there's got to be more. And it's not long before you take off and we do go up to the next plateau. And I didn't know if that would help me.
But sometimes you have to give a little
Well, sure.
something, well,
You got to pay for another lesson.
yeah. Yeah, that's where it's going.
I've asked this so many different times and so many different nights, and each time I get something different out of it. And I think my biggest mistake is that I'm just putting too much energy in the past, and the feeling that I had in the past when I was, enlightened into that. It's like, I just want to experience that again.
But, he made a very good point tonight, Elwood did. He said that so many of you know and believe that this is all true. For instance, we can believe that Don could believe it. But to believe that it's true for us, that's a whole other story. And that's the same story about your dad. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, him and his dad had this huge discussion about his sister who keeps hitting deer down the road.
Feels like 3 or 4 direct.
And Steve said, oh, yeah, she plans everything. And Dad said, do you mean to tell me that she planned to hit that deer? Oh, come on now. And Steve goes, yes. Well, now he's sitting in that boat, and he's like, I didn't plan this. There's no way. You mean to tell me that I planned that? And I'm like, we'll go back to that discussion for Dad, Steve.
Plan may be a word you might use better than planned. You created it, and that might help other people to understand it. You created it through your thinking patterns.
But it's always easier to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You read a book and you go, oh, that's so true. This man has his lights and everything. But then when you're sitting in that shoes, you're like, wait a minute.
Well, the thing that's the real clincher about it, though, is the fact that, what did I do? What was I thinking that made it happen? That made me create that elated feeling last time. It's like I didn't even know it was coming. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't even know what I was thinking. All of a sudden, I get this revelation, and I'm flying high for, months, just literally months. And then it's just amazing that the child in me, as strong as old habits were, would let that go that long before starting to, before I started to allow opportunity to tear it back down again and get back to, old negative patterns. And as I grow and stuff, it's different, but
We got cut and can't get out.
you created that, though. You can get out of there.
There's an opportunity there, Slick.
Too easy to scream for that. And Daddy's always too easy to get you out, too, man.
Yeah.
Well, I've had the same feeling in a number of different things, but not the one you've experienced. I haven't enjoyed that yet. But I know that I've been on a lot of plateaus, and you keep thinking, well,
It's the foundation that you have to hold you up there.
What did I didn't even go into any of this stuff. Didn't even study any of this first round.
Oh, well, you brought a lot of knowing with you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that. I guess it Mary's made the point. It's like just taking responsibility for it before it just seemed like it happened. It just happened. now with all this awareness, it's like I have to take full responsibility for the good and the bad, and do the homework or the grow work, and keep on keeping on before that just becomes a habit.
Well, I think Elvis said a while ago that when something happens, we give too much attention to the negative part of it, instead of saying, oh, that's a mistake, and go back to your ecstasy feeling, or you're feeling good and high immediately. See, without thinking about how bad it is, or why should this happen?
It's just, there was no negative in any of my life. I mean, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 9 months. And it wasn't even, I didn't even have to work at it. It was.
And you were conscious of it.
This is a ticket. No, there was none. Okay, maybe not that I was conscious of, but if there was anything unconscious, boy, it had me fooled. Hook, line, and sinker, because, anyone coming, I drove people crazy. I was so positive. My family was ready to disown me.
You were thinking of burning that pikes because you drank heavily.
No, I was going to school not that much. That was before I got in the bar. It was, I didn't even need out. I couldn't afford to drink. I was so broke. And that was it. It was the poorest I ever was, too. I was that happiest. Not that I'm not happy now, but it just seems like it's a chore to try and get that.
And you have greater opportunities, don't you?
Are you trying too hard because it was a rush?
Why not? I don't understand.
He's saying what I said just a moment ago. You had the rush, and then you lost it, and you gave too much attention to losing it.
Well, there were other things in my life that I gave credit to losing it. I was distracted from it by a relationship that's, really, I allowed myself to, get torn down by that, and then from there, I had to kind of work my way back up. But
Well, it happened just there. She was having a good time a moment ago. She bumped her head, and
Yeah.
down she went, see?
He should go.
Yeah, maybe you just need a hug.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
Butterfly, yeah, that's right.
feel better, huh?
Shall we stand and hold hands? As we come together in the physical holding hands, let us bring down the spiritual understanding that we have received tonight, and the light will let it sink into our consciousness, into the very fiber of our being, and let it become that part of us that is whole and complete and real. Feel the understanding and the light that is being given to us from the higher teachers on the higher dimensions. Feel it beyond words, and bring that wordless understanding into our consciousness, and let it be that which we truly are. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, darling. On the other, hit it. Whoa. Right on.
That's right.
Boy.
I'm finally.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This is my wife, Jenny.
Hi, Emily.
Oh,
How are you?
Can I have your markings?
I caught the vine bread on half full of nuts.
Dear, I miss so much. Yeah, but with help. Not to.
Oh, now I see one.
Try no, sweetie.
They do it.
Great.
All right.
Great.
It's good, great, and sing.
Steam. Lunch? So can you do it later? Yeah, later. Yeah, it's just like you, but you the people. How you doing?
I mean, I do probably tonight.
You guys have already done it.
Now you're planning to be like, no, you have to go down.
Vai sim, amor.